more that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place. Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 5 with Jumpstart Mastery. I'm Andy Prisco. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York at this time. I'm in the Eastern time zone. It's been a long day of getting here, and I'll be here all week. And I'll be updating all of our socials about what's happening for Jumpstart in New York City this week, where I'll be spending all my time with New York City's juvenile justice system, a couple of facilities, and then training their staff at their headquarters downtown, which will be smack in the middle of the Knicks parade on Thursday. But it's great to be here and great to be with you. We're coming to you on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And I have to start the Instagram video, which I'm doing right now. Apologies for being a little delayed on starting the Instagram. Great topic from Brenda. And contextually, it's important because that's what I'm here addressing this week. The idea of supporting youth, particularly when you're a parent and you have to parent through the presentation of anger and defiance in the youth. There are lots of families that are receiving services or are in need of services for kids that can present what the great Andy McDonald from Studio 3 would refer to as behaviors of concern. We certainly hear phrases to describe these kinds of behaviors: oppositional, defiant, challenging behaviors. Interestingly, over the past couple of months, I've been involved in a few cases where people have come to me with absolutely awful situations that their youth are facing, either in school or in an institutional setting. And all of the discussion and focus of the discussion is on the challenging behavior of the youth. Meanwhile, upon just a not too deep investigation into the matter, what we see is adults doing things that are making things worse in the youth. And in what is showing up and in what is having to be managed. Maybe you have, let me get this in, interestingly, also, my wife and I are, I was up until this morning, but my wife and I are caring for our toddler granddaughter while her mom and dad are on a really needed respite vacation, which we're very glad that we were able to support. So I'm back into thinking about those formative interactions that enable a youth good ability to adapt to the world around them. So let me share a couple of thoughts here. Habits we have formed as parents, particularly in the West, that can set the stage for conditions that are worse than what they need to be, would be things like no, because I said so, stop or else, you know better. Maybe some other kinds of statements that cause a youth to experience a goal being blocked or an expectation being violated. We know in research that those two experiences, an experience of a goal being blocked and an experience of an expectation being violated, are core motivations to anger. When children are animating themselves to get their needs met and present some behaviors that instigate in the nervous system of the adult discomfort, high emotional intensity, concerns like loss of control over the youth, maybe ideas about parenting failure. I'm not good at this. I'm a failure. I turn up the intensity on what I'm doing to control it. We now know all that begets is more behaviors of concern. So how does one parent through the presentation of behavior that by its very nature can be emotionally arousing to us? Well, the argument that being highly emotionally aroused in reaction to a youth, the jury is back on that. This is not good. When we are operating as adults from limited diversity of thought and expression because our nervous system has been activated and our limbic system has been activated because we're experiencing shame, guilt, regret, feeling out of control. We're concerned about things that have really nothing to do with the youth in question. These are thoughts. They aren't thinking, as Joel Turner would say. Thoughts are not thinking. What is thinking? Thinking is telling yourself loudly enough what to focus on instead. Thinking is an active, in situ voice. Words, Sapir-Whorf theory. Words, language creates experience. You ever hear of the expression of talking yourself through things or into things? There are some people who actually verbalize what they're doing when they want to overcome high emotional arousal. This is what we need to grapple with to parent through situations where our youngster is presenting behaviors of concern. How does one do that? Well, knowing what to do is helpful. Where do you start? Your youth is not being responsive to your directions. Hey, get dressed, get ready for school. Kid doesn't get out of bed. You come again and prompt. They present some kind of behavior of concern. Might be anger, might be neglect. They just act like they don't listen to you. Dismissal. That causes an emotional experience for many, many people. What? Whoa, I'm your parent. I just gave you the law. Your job is to respond to the law. And then they don't do that. Now the problem isn't the youth's anymore. The problem is mine. So the recommendation that we would have at Jumpstart is first, as Carrie Fisher would say from Studio 3, regulation before expectation. Well, why would you want to regulate? Well, because your best thinking is going to be done when you're regulated. Your best decision-making, your best strategies to help this youth make better choices are only going to be optimized if you're engaging them from a regulated state. That means, in short, to not care so much about what they're presenting and instead regulate yourself so you can get to the bottom of why they're animating themselves that way. What is it that we not want to enable? We don't want to enable that upon their presentation of behavior of concern, they now drive what I do. Instead, we want the behavior of concern to be the invitation for us to lend some kind of regulation to them by virtue of what we're embodying and presenting. That's a lot of words to say, be the change you want to see. They don't want to get out of bed. They don't want to go to school. You may feel the impulse. Try to do something else. Consider an observation statement. Hey, look, I can see that I've directed you to put your clothes on and you're not doing it. I can see that you don't want to go to school. I hear that you don't want to go to school. And I see that you want to stay in bed. I'm feeling anxious about your future because people who engage in this kind of behavior have a future that's less bright than those who go to school. I need to understand why you're acting this way right now. Would you be willing to tell me what's going on without any fear of me being angry with you? But would you be willing to tell me? I want to understand so that we can work on this together. That's an OFNR for a kid who doesn't want to go to bed. Now, here's the game. You're going to do that when you feel the impulse to want to do something else, like get the fuck out of bed, get your clothes on, and go to school. I've done it. Lots of parents have done that. Does that sufficiently confer to the youth an appreciation for putting their clothes on and going to school, as opposed to coming together in collaboration, suspending your imposition of will? I'm in control. I am the parent. I am in control. I don't need to exercise the controller's coercion right now. Let me exercise some responsibility, try to get to the bottom of why they're doing this, so that maybe we can solve that and they can go to school. So what's the takeaway here? The first job in parenting through anger and defiance in the youth is to parent yourself through your own anger and defiance. Parent yourself. My therapist refers to it as structuring yourself back up. When I begin to feel unstructured because of emotional intensity, my first job is to structure myself back up. That may require me to take a few moments before I go have this discussion at the door of the bedroom of my youngster. I may have to go downstairs and say, okay, wait a minute. I'm not just going to get pissed at him or her. Let me think about what an OFNR might be for this. How might I invite collaboration with this kid who doesn't want to go to school? They're angry about my directions to get dressed and go. And I'm just using this as an example. There could be a host of other behaviors that the kid is producing. One that's particularly instigating are gestures of disrespect or worse, physical touch that's undesirable. You ever see a toddler do this to their parent? Slap. Not hard, nothing injurious or life-threatening, but a clear physical gesture. How do you deal with that? The first order of business is to not get wound up about what that symbolizes, and instead try to understand what would motivate this person to do this. If they're looking for some kind of animated reaction, I'm going to make sure that I don't provide it. Maybe I'll set the kid down. Maybe I'll use a look of disapproval. But I'll stay present with them in the space. I'm not going to explode. All this time, I'm having to manage impulses that are going to want to drive me to do something else. Something very fast, very abrupt, very coercive. And what we're recommending is that you take the time in between these situations when you are at a state of well-being to think through how you're going to handle yourself when this shows up, because it will. I think a lot of people move from reaction to reaction to reaction without any thought or contemplation in between, or perhaps feeling hopeless. This approach that I'm talking about of regulation before expectation works for youngsters that you parent, to adults that have done felony crime and live with serious mental illness. This is the prescription. Regulate before expecting anything. Not regulate them, regulate you. I have to regulate myself before I want to optimize any kind of thinking through it. OFNR from NVC, observation, feeling, need, request, is a great thinking approach to managing thoughts. What are the thoughts? Shame, guilt, feeling out of control, feeling offended, all of the images that produces. Those are thoughts. What's thinking? Thinking is what you tell yourself. Having a place to go to what to tell yourself is extraordinarily useful. In crisis de-escalation, we refer to it as VDSP. As soon as it starts, I'm going to feel the impulse. Validate, defer, suggest, prompt. In one of these less than crisis circumstances where someone's just being defiant or angry, and there's youth engaged in behavior where I might be able to reach them with an observational statement and a request, try an OFNR. With that, I got to get over to my 8:30 dinner appointment. I hope you got something out of this. I really enjoy being with all of you. And join us on Thursday at the Jumpstart Mastery Network, where these conversations are more oriented toward professionals who are working in the space. Take good care. We'll see you soon.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
More that you can lean into your own personal discomfort, say what needs to be said in a non-offensive way, the more you make the world a better place.